I think my journey with this with this project really started with a painting that I did back in '96 after moving out into Connecticut and getting a studio out here. And it's a painting of a little twig, just a tiny little shoot that came through the ground. And it just happened all by itself. There was virtually no struggle in making this painting at all. I didn't even sort of catch myself making it. Yet it took a long time to make. It was very gradual and very slow. And it's one of my favorite paintings now, and it's called Light Breaks on Secret Lots. And when I moved up to Boston in '97 to take on directing the Visual Arts Department at Boston University, I was asked to take on a project to design a window for their new photonics center, which is a building dedicated to light engineering. And I don't have any knowledge of light engineering. I'm not a scientist, but I love science as a romantic loves science. And I love religion as a romantic loves religion, actually, in many ways, because I'm an artist. And the romance for me between religion and science has been something that's gone on all my life. And when I got asked to do this piece, I said, "Oh, we're going to make a stained glass window." And he said, "No, that's too ecclesiastic. We would like something that celebrates light in a more general sense, and we would really appreciate it if you could do something with technology to do it." So I designed an image on my laptop, like one of the first little Macintosh laptops at the time. And I designed this whole thing on there, and it became a 12 by 14 foot window. A very interesting thing started to happen. People kept coming out of the background asking me to take on projects in areas that I would never have dreamt of working in. The first one was the military, of all people. They came and asked me to come to Washington, to the Army research laboratories. And they said, "We don't want you to making art about battlefield or anything to do with war. We want you to do just to sort of get interested in the technologies that are going on in here and see if you can make something that's inspirational." And I was really touched by what they were doing with satellite imaging from space, so that they could actually detect targets that were so they didn't bomb the wrong thing. And I made a piece called Farsight, which is all about hyperspectral imaging from space, and about control of energy. And it was a purely research project. It's one of these things that you do when you go to university. You get drawn into the whole research area. And when I did that, another project came out of nowhere, and it was from New York University. They wanted me to do a thing for their new cardiovascular center, which was a new arena for heart surgery. And again, I knew nothing about medicine. But the romance of what they were doing in their intervention with people really inspired me. And I made a piece based on the light of the moon. And the first coming together of this project, which was a conversation with Sister Joanne, was when I showed her this installation at the Photonics Center in Boston of the window. And she said, "You know, it's interesting that you're showing me this, because we want to really do something with windows for the chapel, and the whole question of light being at the center of what we want to do is the thing that we want to inspire." And she said, could you give us some advice on things that we might be able to accomplish in the chapel? So I started doing some research for her and started sending her some web links and various things. And then she finally came back and said, "Well, would you consider, what would you consider doing?" And so the conversation began about how I could actually do something in this room. And at that point, I had to just look into myself as an artist and actually really ask myself the question of what was the central issue that really governs what I do as an artist. And it boils down to really doing something about the struggle for light and space that goes on in the whole of creation. The thing that I'm most moved by is to see how everything struggles for light and for space, whether it's going on inside your body or whether it's going on in the garden, whether it's going on in your heart. It's going on poetically and it's going on literally. And this struggle for light and space, this war and this love between the two opposites, is the thing that most moves me. And it most moves me by its appearance in the natural world. And so I said to Sister Joanne, let's make a tree. Let's make a vine that goes around the whole room and carries on the vine all the prayers and all of the aspirations of the different faiths of the world. And they would, and you could see the text going through the vine, and the text would culminate in fruit that would be based on poetry and verse from all of the different faiths. That was the very first idea. And as we started to develop it, I started investigating all kinds of different ways in which we could interface different poetic texts. And it became clear that what we could start to see happening was a kind of argument rather than a synthesis, and that one could get too stuck on texts, and rather than actually going straight to the heart of the matter. And so both Sister Joanne and Sister Rosemary really encouraged me to remember what it is that I was most centered in. And they said, we love your paintings about growth and about light. And if you could just come out of that, I think that we would be really going right to the heart of what we care about in this mission. And that was such a wonderful thing to be asked to do, because it brought me back to my senses. It brought me back to myself. And so they said, just simply read the Book of Wisdom, the Wisdom of Solomon, and you'll see what we mean. So I went and started reading the Song of Solomon. And I thought, this is really sexy stuff. And I came back to Sister Rosemary. She said, no, that's the wrong text. it's the Book of Wisdom. And I hadn't encountered the Book of Wisdom before. And I was ready to go with the Song of Solomon.